I was like, oh, I am actually evil like I thought. I'm beyond saving. These demons are here. They're going to try to drag me to hell. Hi, I'm Sareth. I'm diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and PTSD. And today I wanted to tell y'all about the first time I hallucinated. And I did touch on this a little in my schizophrenia story video, but I felt it deserved its own video, especially since I could take more time to detail it this way. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that this is the first hallucination where I can look back and say, oh yeah, 100% that was a hallucination. It is possible that there are other things I hallucinated before then that I just don't recall or cannot remember it being a hallucination, or can't tell if it's a hallucination or not. For instance, when I was 11, 12-ish, somewhere in that area, I realized that imaginary friends were not supposed to be seen or heard. They're actually just supposed to be in your head. And I actually saw and heard my imaginary friend. Her name was Shadow. But I don't count that as a first hallucination because my memories of all of that are foggy. All I remember is the realization dawning that imaginary friend was not what I thought it was. Anyway, so my first hallucination then happened around 12, 13. A lot happened to me during that age, I will let you know. But I was spending the night at my grandparents' house. I don't remember why, but it wasn't uncommon for me to go over there and spend the night just for fun, or if my parents were out of town shopping or something. And it was nighttime. I was in the guest room. I think my brother was sleeping on the couch in the living room. But at this point in my life, I had started developing somnophobia. And that came from PTSD. I was scared to sleep, and so I would do anything I could to keep myself awake. Self-harm, starvation, things like that. One thing was temperature extremes. I would make sure I was really, really cold or really hot, whichever was easier for me to do. Just make myself uncomfortable, like too uncomfortable to go to sleep. And so I slipped out of bed while I was supposed to be sleeping, and I drew in my tablet for a while. And then when I started falling asleep, I walked over to the window, which was a floor-length window, so I could sit on the floor and see out of it. I laid my cheek against the window, and it was really cold. That's the only reason I remember that this happened during the winter. And that, shocked me awake. But as I'm sitting there, I'm staring out into the yard, and they had a lot of land, so it was all rural, all forest, and all that stuff. While I'm sitting there, a figure appears outside, standing, staring at me. It's all black, not really any details, but I can feel it staring at me. And I keep staring back at it, and I'm starting to panic. I'm like, is there a robber out there or something? What's going on? And then as I keep staring, another figure appears, and another, and another. And just like, I'm not blinking, like I'm holding my eyes open because I'm baffled by what's happening. This figure's appearing out of nowhere. And they start having details and features to them, like horns and warts and wings and all kinds of things, and they're different colors. And I start realizing that these are monsters or demons, right? I grew up in a very religious household and a very religious town, and I had, because of things that caused my PTSD. I had a problem doubting my faith at a very young age. I'm talking like 8 years old. I was already doubting my faith, and it was because of something that I'll eventually get around to sharing that was very traumatic for me. But anyway, in my head, when I started realizing that these things I was seeing were demons out there, I was like, oh, I am actually evil like I thought. I'm beyond saving. These demons are here. They're going to try to drag me to hell. That was my thought as a 11, 12-ish year old. Or 12, 13-year-old, sorry. But I didn't stop staring because I was afraid if I blinked or if I moved, that they would move too, right? And then they started talking to me. Like, their lips were not moving, and they were not moving, but I could hear their voices, and it sounded like a cacophony of, like, whispers, and I couldn't really make out what they were saying for the most part, but there was one or two voices every so often in the whispers that would be like, come outside, or why don't you just come out, it feels nice. I know you don't want to be cooped up in that house. And they were trying to get me to walk outside, and I was honestly actually tempted to go outside. For whatever reason. I don't know, stupid kid, I don't know. But I actually was tempted to go outside. Maybe it was just the schizophrenia, the drawl of the, I don't know how to explain it, but there is a feeling of when a voice tells you to do something, like a compulsion to actually obey them. That's what this felt like. But I didn't go outside. I sat there, and eventually all of the voices stopped. And the figures started to fade away, except for that very first one that appeared. And he stayed and grew these massive horns, like massive black horns off of his head. And I could still feel him, like the feeling of him staring at me grew stronger, and I could like feel it in my chest. And it was like he wasn't smiling, but I could feel a smile on his face. And he told me, I can't remember the exact words, but he told me something along the lines of, wow, I'm surprised, you did a good job, I'm proud of you. Alright. And then I just keep staring, my heart's like, but like, it's weird because his voice actually, when he said that, started making me feel like I was starting to calm down. But in my head, I was like, oh, it's luring you into a false sense of security, so don't let yourself calm down. And so I kept my heart. And I don't remember if he disappeared or if I fell asleep. But the next thing I remember is waking up, laying on the floor next to the bed. And it was like the next morning, my grandpa, I could hear him in there cooking oatmeal. So I'm not really sure exactly what happened after that. I'm assuming I got tired and went to sleep. And see, the problem with this is that I already told you I was having sleep problems, right? And even in healthy people, sleep deprivation can cause hallucinations. Now, schizophrenia, generally speaking, can cause, I should say, worse, more vivid hallucinations than just not getting enough sleep for a few days, right? And I was getting sleep at the time. It was just that I was putting off going to sleep as long as possible, but I was sleeping. And so, like, I can't really say how much of it was from schizophrenia, how much of it was from sleep deprivation, but I know it wasn't all from sleep deprivation, because at the time, I was still getting sleep and everything. And also because after that, the hallucinations picked up more and more. my medical issues came to a point where I physically was incapable of making myself stay awake. I would sleep easily, like the minute my head hit the bed, I'm gone. There was no keeping me awake. And so I was getting sleep, but I was starting to get more and more hallucinations. I was starting to get voices, and that's when the paranoia and anxiety and all the other symptoms started getting real bad. So every therapist, every psychiatrist I have talked to has pinpointed that 12, 13-year mark as the time my psychiatric symptoms, especially in regards to the schizophrenia, has started. So based on my own beliefs and based on what I've been told by professionals, while sleep deprivation may have played a role in that hallucination, it was not the cause of it. So yeah, that was fun. Comment down below, as always, with any questions, video topics, your stories that you want to share. Like and subscribe while you're down there, and I will see y'all in another video. Bye.